Mr. V.N. Jadhav, DIG Police, Maharashtra State Security Corporation, Ashalata Govind, GM and Chief Information Security Officer, State Bank of India. I would request everybody to give a round of applause to all the speakers who are joining us on the dais. Mr. Tapan Kumar Pandey, Chief Information Security Officer, Andhra Bank. Mr. Manish Paul, Head Information Risk Management, HDFC Bank. Mr. V.N. Kalhotkar, Chief Information Security Officer, Bank of Maharashtra. Mr. Rohit Shukla, Chief Security Officer, IDBI Bank. Mr. Ruchin Kumar, Security Evangelist, India and SARC SafeNet. Mr. Saurabh Kumar, General Manager, Samsung Enterprise Business. These are the points that we would be dwelling on. These are the points that we will be dwelling on in this session. As more and more BFSI services go online, cyber threats increase. What is the readiness of banks to protect their customers? Exploring the arrival of cloud technology for data and security management in BFSI sector in India. What are the views and analysis on this? New technologies in network security. What do technology providers have to offer for BFSI sector in India? Physical threats to financial institutions also needs to be countered. Thinking beyond CCTV issues, role of intelligence in data analytics. Manpower, a major challenge for BFSI sector to manage banks and ATMs. With more platforms of customer connect with the banking network, mobile, ATM, online, how easy or tough it is to be on the high alert. I would now hand over to Ms. Ashalata Govind, GM CISO, State Bank of India, to take over the session.
Good evening to everyone. Before we start the session, I would request all the panel members here to introduce themselves. I am Ashalata Govind, GM and Group CISO at State Bank of India.
Myself, V.N. Jadhav, DIG, Maharashtra State Security Corporation, Mumbai.
Good evening. I am Vallabh Kolhatkar, Chief Information Security Officer with Bank of Maharashtra.
Very good evening. I am Tapan Panda, Chief Information Security Officer from Andhra Bank.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rohit Shukla. I am the Chief Security Officer of IDBI Bank, and I head the security, safety, and the business continuity planning initiatives of IDBI Bank.
Hey, I'm Saurabh. I am responsible for all the technology solutions, specifically around security in Samsung India. Thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity. Let me ask you this question. How many of you own a mobile phone? How many of you have a mobile phone? Everybody has a mobile phone? Okay. Raise of hands there. How many of you have emails on your mobile phones? Okay. How many of you feel that your mobile phone is absolutely secure? For two people here. Okay. How many of you feel that if I format your phone, no data can be retrieved from the phone? Okay, great. How many of you have used an MDM? Okay. Let me give you a small example. If you format your phone, I can retrieve 50% of your data in 5 minutes. All it takes me 5 minutes to retrieve your data. All of it that I need to know. And if you think that MDMs protect your mobile phones, I can retrieve all your emails in any kind of an MDM that you are using right now. Be it any phone that you want, Windows, Android, iOS, anything that you want to know. Anything. Okay? And that's what I said in the morning, that, I'm excited, but I'm super scared. You know why? Because my digital identity is now being threatened. And that's what I'm going to cover today. So let me just talk about this. This is all we know. Android is the most important or the most deployed ecosystem in the world. Yes? Is it secure? Is iOS secure? Is Windows secure? Okay, that's my answer. As there's a 40% world population right now which works on a smartphone. And therefore, the number of devices that they have right now to invade is actually more than the cumulative Windows laptops and desktops that we had in the entire history. Okay? And that's where the hackers just love these devices. They absolutely love these devices. Okay? And therefore, if I ask this question to any of the CIOs, these are my questions, right? Would you encourage using mobility devices in your ecosystem? And the answer is, hell yes. Do you feel secure? And then I have a blank look on the face saying, yes, I think so, right? That's the answer, right? And therefore, let me just tell you what is an MDM in that case. MDM gives you a software management capability, a network service management capability, an application management capability. And best of all, what you know is what we call as containerization on an application. And we feel, since the data is inside the container, it is encrypted and it is secured, right? Now let me explain you how the data is displayed on the screen. When the data has to be displayed on the screen, the data is decrypted, the text stream is given to an event handler which displays the entire data. Therefore, all I need to do is put a silent listener and read the entire thing which you are doing on your screen and happily send that email off to me without any one of you knowing. And that's happening today as we speak. And if you don't believe me, I can send you a video of 2013 Hackers Conference, Black Hat Conference in the US, and you can see it for yourself how it takes him 4 minutes to hack the entire platform. 4 minutes on the stage. He will do it for you. Right? And therefore, we say that when we have to talk about security, it is grounds up. Right? And therefore, when I'm talking about Samsung Knox, this is what I'm talking about. And why am I talking about this? Because Department of Defense uses this. FBI in the US uses this. Secret Service in the US uses this platform to communicate. The only man who still uses a BlackBerry, which is a $100,000 device, is Barack Obama. That's a $100,000 device against a normal device that you can buy today. Right? And it's still moving now to a Samsung Knox phone. Because we offer you the security that's available on a Linux platform or an Android ecosystem. And it's all available to you as controllable, as flexible as you want. Right? Okay, let me explain you what this is. This is the entire stack of an operating system. Okay? All you need to do is go to this hardware, leave a small bug, and that's about it. Your entire phone, I can listen right now as to what you're talking to your colleague, and I can listen on my phone outside. That's all I need to do. And this is not Minority Reports or any kind of movies that I'm talking about. This is live in this room scenario. I can do it, if possible. Right? And therefore, if you have to secure your entire device, you have to secure the entire stack. Which basically means you have to secure your operating system, your applications, and your hardware platform. Because if your hardware platforms are not strengthened, your applications are all compromised. Okay? So therefore, what we have done is we have introduced what we call as a Samsung Knox platform, which actually uses some of these things to enable you to give your phone in two modes. When a person walks into your office, he goes into a profile, which is a work profile, which means his cameras are blocked. His images, if you allow him to take camera, are stored in a work container, which he cannot transfer to his personal container. He has his email, which is read for a corporate, and his attachments stayed on a corporate side, not on his personal side. And it also means that if you have a data plan for which you pay your employees, he has a separate data plan for his work container and a separate data plan for your personal container. That's how personalized can you make a device. Right? And if you trust me, this is what we do. We have all these applications as of today certified, and we can have more applications as we bring along, which are completely secure to be used in a corporate environment. Right? And here is what we have as a testimonial. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. Right? Thank you. Voice, please.
Today, any common man, if you see, he will be having two devices, one for his personal use and one for his business use. The main reason is because he wants to separate his business use versus his personal use. The same difficulty we had in our same organization. Samsung came with this technology, Knox, which does the hardware level encryption as well as the software level encryption. So I have one device, so if I want to move from my personal space to the official space, I just click on the Knox technology, I will be in my office. If I don't want to, once I step out of my office, if I just log out of my Knox, I come into my personal space. People were uncomfortable using multiple instruments and multiple technologies. People did not know from where did I send my email. Now they have much clarity, they send it from one device, one. Second thing is the security has been beefed up very drastically. Now we have a controlled environment.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would now invite Mr. Ruchin Kumar, Security Evangelist, India and SAARC SafeNet, to give his presentation. Paul, Head Information Risk Management from HDFC Bank. I would request Ms. Ashalata Govind to now take over the panel discussion.
People and people. That is where we face a major challenge in securing the our data and protecting ourselves from threats. Now the fraudsters are always 2 steps ahead of us. I wouldn't even say 1 step. They are 2 steps ahead. Like Mr. Ruchin said, we have to think like fraudsters and then put in place mechanism to deal with it. We have been going around the country talking to the employees on what is security and why it should be, they should be aware of the information security. It's like rather than teaching them or making them aware, I was asking them only one question. Like a child in a family, a baby in a family is the critical infrastructure of the family. Everybody would agree to that. Now, to take care of that baby, should anybody tell the parents or teach the parents how to take care of the child? It is automatically done because it is intuitive. It is a passion which makes them take care of them. Nobody told the parents how to take care of the child, how to bring it up. My parents were not told by anybody to do that, and I am not told how to take care of my children. So the passion is the answer for that. Now, you have heard Mr. Saurav talking about the threats on mobile devices. With the exponential growth in banking industry, the mobile devices have come to stay here. And financial inclusion, we are only using mobile devices like kiosk banking and the connectivity, everything is through that. Now we have to protect the data at risk, which is at rest and also in motion. Now, the customer awareness. That is another thing which even RBI has mandated the banks to take care of the customer awareness. Because more than the hacking or any other threats to the information security, it is now social engineering, which the fraudsters are up to. Recently, we had a case. Somebody called up and said he downloaded a device, an application from mobile banking, thinking it's a SBI application. It is some fraudster had put that application. He downloaded it. It asked for user ID, password. He simply gave it. Within minutes, the account was cleaned out. The alerts were coming into his mobile devices. So this is socially engineering, making us believe that these are all secure things. This must be the banks only. So customer awareness is the most important challenge we face. Now I have, I'll direct some questions at the bankers here. This first question would be addressed to Mr. Koladkar from Bank of Maharashtra. As more and more BFSI services go online, cyber threats increase. What is the readiness of banks to protect their customers?
Thank you. So far as readiness of banks is concerned, banks have initiated many steps. They have implemented various solutions to protect the data at their data center. They have come out with DC, DR, near DR site applications. They have implemented SIM solutions. They have implemented intrusion detection, intrusion prevention. So far as technology is concerned, the preparedness level is comparable to Western worlds. We are well prepared. But as Madam Ashalata has also pointed, the major challenge is awareness. Awareness of people at all levels. The banks which are managing, the vendors we are coming out with solution, and the end customers which are using it. All technology at the best would be of no help if someone prays to a wishing or a phishing attack. So finally we have to work on awareness. Similarly, so far as preparedness is concerned, customer education would be of utmost importance, and there is a need that we build in India a mechanism, some type of laboratories which can test the various solutions, the various hardware, networking and applications which are coming in India before they are implemented, and we need some facility which can certify the safety of that solution at the time of implementation. Because finding bugs after implementation is very difficult to cure. Finding it before implementation would be a major advantage, but we need to have such facilities built in India, because many of the solutions, many of the devices are imported, but we need to have such facility. Then along with the analysis of the attempts, which are either successful or failure, both is important, because at the end of the day you must understand why someone is looking at the data that you are holding. Even if that attempt is failed, we need to analyze what interest that person, maybe a hacker, has in the data that you store. That analysis will allow you to build better systems. So these are the some of the things which bankers need to implement. But so far as preparedness is concerned, if we compare our preparedness with the world, I am of the opinion that we are really well prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Koladkar. That was an interesting thought of getting the applications or devices tested before its implementation in India. I hope some of our vendor community will come forward and give us some solutions onto that. My next question would be addressed to Mr. Tapan Panda of Andhra Bank. With more platforms of customer connect with the banking network, mobile, ATM, online, how easy or tough is it to be on high alert?
Yeah, madam, you have asked a very critical question. Whether it is tough or not, it is difficult to tell, but the way the things are moving, actually we are going to give the people solutions and other things which actually they are going to use. Jan Dhan Yojana, whatever it has been done, we have given, from my bank, I think we have given 14 lakh ATM cards. we do not know how actually it is going to be used. Whether these people to whom we have given the cards, whether they are very comfortable in using that one. Always from the bank side, we think that how best we can serve the customers. And we should be there in the same footing of the customers to think from the other side that whether I will be giving them a instrument to use, and that should be convenient for them and safe as well. Now we have come out with everybody is now using a smartphone, everything, second factor authentication, everything is coming in that smartphone. Now government has again come out, even though there is no network, no internet connections, only with this, ordinary phones, you can also do transactions. Just think, we have given a facility to them, no doubt about that. But how safe it is, that we have to think. The customers, they do not know. So always we are thinking the criticality of the things. Everything goes fine. Whenever I am showing, my vendor is showing me a prototype, he is always telling, sir, you do this thing, benefits will be coming like that. Simply you click here, you will be getting this pop-up screen, you will be doing that one, you will be doing that one, your transactions will be complete. And you touch one screen, your transaction will be complete. But how safe it is? As now just he was telling, in this hall, people, those who are there, they are not sure of their smartphone, which can be hacked within 5 minutes. All the data, whatever you have stored there, can be shared. We are not sure. This elite customer group here, those who are there here, they are not sure about that. Think about the people, those who are there in the village, who are going to get these things. So in that matter, if you will say that this biometric authentication, whatever has come, I think that's a very good solution for the rural folks. Actually, those who do not know how to operate in all these things. Even I come from Hyderabad, I have seen in the Hyderabad, whenever I go to an ATM, there are people, ladies will be there standing in the queue, and they will be asking the guard, sir, insert my this one. Sir, this is my PIN. Sir, this is my things. Everything we share. Technology cannot do anything to this one. It is only the awareness. It is only the people. They should be imbibed with that education that it is just like your cash where you want to keep it safe. The PIN is your key, and you have to keep it in such a way that it should not be shared with anybody. Every day we receive 1,000 calls that, sir, somebody was calling me, he was asking me my ATM card number, otherwise my card will be blocked, otherwise my account will be blocked. You tell me my account number, you tell the PIN number, all these things are happening. Just imagine the risk we are there at. And we from the banker side, we are always responsible for these things. We can't tell it that, yes, sir, you have given, you have just passed on your PIN and you are responsible for whatever you have done. So the questions what madam asked me that how critical it is, how safe it is known to everybody. It is only the human link that is the weakest link in the entire IT security. We are facing this insider threats, spoof, phishing, everything. And it is not being done by the people, those who do not know IT. People knowing IT only, they do these things. It's a fancy with our new generations. It's a fancy. I should have a mobile, and all the apps should be there. Whether I download it from anything, any Play Stores or anywhere I download, I don't think about the security. I want that it should be done. But anything goes wrong, then the company is responsible, or the person who has given it is responsible. In this situation, we are working. And at the same time, we have to take this to our stride, and we have to go for these innovations and the latest technology through which we can give a service to the last mile, where actually the last person in the society should be served. So if you ask me that technology and everything, for that we are taking all the IT securities, whatever is required, as said by my colleague, we are taking the maximum preventions for in this safety of the data, and from our side we are ready. But whenever the application comes, a lot of applications are coming. lot of multiple platforms are there. For everything, security is it is there. We cannot secure everything, but with practicing this security practices, which is the responsibility of each and every person who uses it, we can, I think, we can make it a safer world to the maximum extent. I cannot say that we can make it completely safe, but we can make it safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pandap. He has put it in right perspective. Bankers think about customer convenience when you introduce a product or a method. But the other side of the story is how to educate the customer, how to make him use it safely and securely. Now, there are risks related to IT, and I would now request Mr. Manish. He is from HDFC Bank, Deputy VP, and he will talk about the risk management in the bank.
Thank you. So there have been some very interesting points that have been put forth since I have just managed to join this August audience. Now, when we say risk, as far as the BFSI is concerned, the definition of risk continues to stay the same. And if we were to go back to the basics, it is nothing but exploitation of any vulnerability by an existing or a new threat. The challenge always is to be able to anticipate what that threat will be so that we are able to prevent the exploitation of an existing vulnerability. But that does not go to say that we should not be able to plug in the vulnerabilities in the first place. So as brought out correctly by the gentlemen across, we may have new applications coming in, day out. The medium through which they are being generated and being extended to our customers is changing rapidly. Most recent is the e-wallet, which all of you must have read very recently in the newspapers, the launch of electronic wallet by various entities, be it Apple, be it Google. Google's already had a breach in its wallet. Now various banks in India wish to adopt this feature whereby they want to give the facility of paying your bills, paying your, conducting your credit card transactions, adding your credit card, adding your account into an application which will be sitting on your mobile. Now, this is just a very brief example, but if we were to address the overall risk, what needs to be in place is not just simple adherence to a standard like a PCI DSS or an ISO 27001. It is understanding the mindset of what is it that we need to give to the customer in the most secure fashion. For that, the efforts that need to be put in have to be not only at an organizational level, but at a sector level. So while the government can do only so much, or the regulator can do only so much by giving us direction, first layer, we are all aware, everybody's from the security fraternity, defense in depth is something that we do within the organization. Why not adopt a similar feature for risk addressal in depth by keeping layers at the regulators level, forming a forum amongst all the common entities, having regular discussions, there are more than enough sources over the net, online. We have the vendor community. They are there to support and give us all the information we need with respect to various threats as and when they happen. The question is, do we have a framework around it? Now that's a very large question because risk management does not adhere to any single framework. There is no one size that fits all. Idea is to adopt what we feel is best suited for our organization, be it an ISO 31000, which is now the basis for most of the GRC platforms which the banks and other organizations are adopting. Or we decide that at a very basic level, I need to look at three things: exfiltration, infiltration of data, and monitoring of who is having access to the data and how they are using it. Base is the same. We can develop certain pillars like a prevent, a protect, a respond, a detect. Now these are at a slightly higher level, but that is how we can drill down and address risk management in today's scenario, not by point solutions, because those are in the past. Having a screened subnet architecture to prevent your, to protect your perimeter is something almost a decade old. Everybody knows that. What next is to have a framework in place which is dynamic, meets the requirements of the business, because the people sitting in the business teams are always pointing out that the security team is holding back the go live, security team is holding back the testing, they are not able to find the flaws. The question is, how do we align with business, work with them, and provide the best service to the customer?
Thank you, Mr. Manish. Yes, he has correctly put it. the security fraternity is always blamed when business cannot move ahead. Why is security holding it up? We want to move forward. Yes, at the security level, we also understand that business has to move on. And there cannot be a circumstance where the risk is zero. It is only a concept. Risk will always be there, but what security is looking at is not zero risk, but we are looking at how to minimize the risk. Correctly put, Mr. Manish. Now, I would address my question to Mr. Rujin, who will be talking about the new technologies which are emerging, the cloud technology and the other the network technologies. He will be talking about that. Please.
Thank you, madam. It is quite interesting to talk about security in cloud. Now, in the traditional data centers, when all the data, all my resources are lying in front of me, I was having great, you can say, facility, and I was having key to all the security, whether that was physical security or the logical security, which was implemented on in that environment. When I start talking about virtualization, I start talking about cloud, public cloud, private cloud, or the hybrid one. I don't know where is my data going. Where is my critical resources, which forms the complete core of my business, is going and getting stored, is getting processed. Who is analyzing those resources, and what can happen to me in case if those critical resources are compromised. So it has brought in a lot of challenges in terms of how can I implement similar security which I was having in the traditional environment. If we see virtualization is of great benefit. Basically, I use limited resources for the vast number of applications. I can have, in the case of VMware, I can have VM images of different servers. So 20 different servers can be hosted on a single hardware machine. I save lot on the cost. I save lot on the licensing of the applications. But then it also induces so much of risk. Like earlier, 20 different machines were probably looked after by 5 different system administrators. Those were located at different places. So even if the data is breached at one place, I was getting some time to ensure that same breach does not happen at the other sites. But here, in this case, I am bringing easiness to my data processing, data analytics, but I am also inviting threats like someone can copy all my VM images in a single hard drive and can walk away from there. Then whole of my complete resources are getting compromised. In such situation, when I'm not in physical, you can say, I'm not holding it in my physical data centers, and I am using the modern technologies to keep that data in some shared environment, whether it is virtualized or it is hosted over a cloud. Then I need to ensure that not only, so here the parameters are not in my control. I need to have proper agreements in place to see the parametric security. Then I need to have proper controls over the data which is going out of my premise and residing at the service provider's data center. I need to ensure that the key to that security always remain in my control, in my ownership. Because ultimately, if my data is compromised, it is me who will be affected, not the service provider. So we should always have proper controls in place in terms of agreements, in terms of SLAs defined, and then we can always go an extra mile by providing data confidentiality at our end, using the technology by keeping the key close to our heart, and then parting away with the, you can say, data in unreadable form in the cloud. So even if it is compromised in some form or the other, it cannot be misused. The same thing which I was talking in the presentation. So we can always ensure that the data confidentiality is maintained at the same level as it was maintained in the traditional data centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruchin. Yes, he had put it correctly. Data breaches, if it happens in a cloud, it is always the banks or whoever has given it are to be blamed, and the service provider cannot take the blame for data breaches. Regarding confidentiality, I have an interesting story on that. Recently, I have been to one of the foreign branches. There, I found that there are one small room. It is kept for the customers to come and open an account. They are taking the privacy and confidentiality to such an extent, the feeling is, if as a customer, when I am telling the bank, why should the others around me hear about it? Maybe it's a mobile number, maybe it is my address or anything. So there is a small room with a PC kept on that, and only the officer who is to authorize the account opening will be sitting with him, and he will be giving the data. Nobody else can hear about that. So that is the privacy and confidentiality the foreign banks are up to. Now, security has got two views. One is logical security and one is physical security. We have been hearing about logical security so far. Now, to the extent of physical security, which is another most important part of the security, I would request our DIG to speak on the physical threats the financial institution faces and how it can be countered. Sir, please.
Thank you very much, madam. All respected delegates, you all know that importance of the security. Since from the morning we are all hearing about the security arrangements, but MSSC is only limited to physical security, and we are here to provide you the physical security, especially for the financial establishments, ATMs, currency states, and other important places. As in present scenario, we all know that police is overburdened, and to reduce that burden, state government has started this corporation since 2010, and now we are with a force of 2,000 guards, which are well-trained, very able-bodied persons, and presently we are providing security to Mono, Metro, JNPT, ONGC, RBI, Income Tax, and different state government and central government institutes. Recently we have provided security to Nanavati Hospital, and many clients are in pipeline. For this, our induction policy, we have kept the brochures at our stall. Just the client has to register with the MSSC office, then all the required information will be provided to you. If you are interested, then there will be a joint audit by our MSSC officers and clients' representatives, and after agreement, we actually deploy our guards. There are security services or guard services are available at the market with cheap rates, but this is a government undertaking. Our recruitment process is done or carried out at par with police. We see their all details, we verify their antecedents, we provide them required good quality training, and especially 6 weeks training and then 2 weeks armed training. If any institutions they are interested, you are most welcome. All information you required will be given to concerned, and I am very happy to pay or to play our role to strengthen these important financial institutes about facing the security challenges. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Who better than the DIG of police to talk on physical security. And I thank you, sir, and I hope everybody in the banking fraternity or the financial community will take you upon your invitation and then deploy in some of our critical infrastructure security. Now my next question is to Mr. Rohit Shukla. He is also from the Chief Security Officer, so IDBI, and he'll be talking to you on the physical and legal issues concerning that. So the question to you will be, manpower and major challenge for BFSI sector to manage banks and ATMs. Sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll start my brief with a little prelude. You see, a banking security is only as strong as it is at its weakest link. So this is an adage. It has a lot of depth in its meaning. And we as security managers in particularly the banking industry, we are largely trained and responsible to identify this weakest link, because strengths will in any case protect us. But it is this weakest link which is going to give way and cause security breaches and all kinds of problems. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, there are basically 4 governing principles of physical security, as most of us are conversant with. Physical security is basically, the architecture is set up to deny access. If it is breached, then detect, then delay, and then respond. So on these 4 governing principles, the security as a whole, and particularly banking security, we lay emphasis on. Now, as you would all be aware that, you see, every industry has a product, and the product has a value. Now, that value of the product itself makes it very attractive for a potential offender, and it becomes a lucrative target for him or her. Now, inherently, the banking products are such which are essentially 2, because you are dealing in hard cash and you are dealing in valuables which are stored in lockers. And this cash also is in many modes. Cash is stored, cash is moving, and all these are essential processes for a banking operation, which has to be carried out at any cost. So the only answer is to upgrade and scale up your security systems to a level which provide adequate protection to your assets, whether it is static or moving. Without dwelling too much on this, you see, if you really see threadbare, it is basically, the crime is basically the cerebral prowess between the protector versus the offender. Both have very sharp brains, and one makes a solution, the other one wants to defeat it. So it's a continuous process. It keeps happening. Now, with this little background, I would go on to banking security, because as most of us know, we only know about the branches and the ATMs, which are the front faces to the normal public. But banks have various degrees of criticality of their assets. Now, this has to be initially done by a proper threat perception. And once you perceive threats, you list them out, and then you do a threat analysis of each threat as to how is it endangering your bank asset. Once you have done that, you draw out a security architecture for the entire bank, and that becomes your protection mechanism. Now, there are various challenges to banking industry, from the physical security as well as the logical security, which has been adequately covered by the eminent speakers prior to me. I shall basically dwell on physical security challenges to banks and financial institutions. You see, the cash is stored in a establishment called the currency chest. All banks have it. It is spread across the country. Now, these currency chests are housing. They are of various categories. I won't dwell into that. They're Class A currency chest, Class B, Class C. Primarily, they are holding a different amount of cash. 800 crores, 1,000 crores, 1,200 crores, and each currency chest is broadly servicing 32 bank branches for their cash requirements, day-to-day cash requirements. Now, this cash has to move from the currency chest to the branch and vice versa, frequently, if not every day, at least once in 3 days or 4 days. That is the requirement of the banking industry. Now we need to protect this cash while it is stored and while it is in movement, which we refer to as CIT, cash in transit. Now for all these requirements, the backbone of physical security remains the human resource or the physical security guard and the supervisory security officers. Now, primarily in the recent times, as you would be aware, newspapers are flooded with incidents of burglary and thefts against ATMs. Now, ATMs are essentially, I'll dwell on the ATMs because this is a major security challenge. We can quote incidents, there are so many incidents, but what we need now is viable and practicable solutions. As you know, ATMs are broadly classified into two parts. One is a branch ATM. So an ATM which is at the branch is relatively got less threat because it is manned throughout the day. There are employees, there are customers, somebody is watching the ATM. The primary problem is with an off-site ATM. You know, for business interests and for convenience to customers, there are off-site ATMs which are away from the branch. And they are beyond the visual surveillance of any branch employee or branch staff. Now, and you would see that most crimes or offenses against ATMs in the recent past have been against off-site ATMs. Many of them in Bangalore, particularly, there was a trend. The Bangalore police tracked it. They found the trend. They got to the root, and they found an effective solution to that. Now, off-site ATMs, it has been debated over a long period of time whether we need security guards there at all or we don't need at all. Only electronic systems will take care of it. But I'm afraid, I'm of the firm view that it has to be a combination of a physical guarding combined with, I would say, augmented with electronic security. So only for want of time, I shall be very concise. Now for guarding, you need quality manpower. Banks essentially have only security staff, which is the either regular employee. So that trend is being discouraged now because there are a lot of encumbrances with regular employees. So largely the Indian banking industry is dependent on private security guards. And I'm sorry to say that even till today, the security business is still in the unorganized sector. It has varying and conflicting statutory compliances between state governments and central governments, and it is extremely difficult. It may appear as a very, folk security guard standing, but you would be amazed the amount of statutory compliances which go behind deploying that security guard is enormous, and it is actually wasting time and energy of various security setups to go in for that. I won't dwell into the details of that as we are tight for time. The second problem is training of these guards. This is a gray area which requires, there are a lot of acts, there are a lot of statutes, but it is not being implemented satisfactorily. These guards are not trained. You find security guards are what? They are unemployed youth from some villages, brought in by unscrupulous security companies. They make them wear a uniform and say this is the guard, and they are only interested in their billing, monthly billing. So that needs to be taken care of. There has to be documented training so that he knows, and beyond that, he has to be trained in fire aspects and electronic security, so on and so forth. So now ATM, we are doing a pilot project. I must mention this to take care of these off-site ATMs, because we found out that a physical guard, I'll tell you why it is required. Most of the offenses are committed by two fellows on a bike, both wearing helmets. Now helmets they essentially wear because, you see, the ATMs are essentially produced by Diebold and NCR. They are the principal manufacturers of ATMs. They have cameras, but if you're wearing a helmet, a camera cannot identify your face. And you do the crime by wearing the helmet. Now there is no electronic system which can ensure that the helmet is removed. It has to be that physical guard, the guard standing there, who has to do this job. So similarly, there are other aspects which a physical security resource has to carry out. Now the second aspect about the challenges for physical security is the branches. Branches are generally well taken care of. But there are certain anomalies where snatching of cash is a very, very common thing, especially from ladies. You see, while the customer is in the branch, it is the responsibility of the bank to ensure, and the bank guard is there, a bank gunman is there. But what happens, the customer invariably parks her or his vehicle near the branch and then walks up. So it is somewhere when this customer reaches the vehicle, there are organized gangs or groups of 3-4 boys who are waiting to snatch away that bag, because they know the customer wouldn't have gone to a bank for nothing else. It would have been for a cash dealing. So now this parking lot is not under the, technically it is not under the assets of the bank. It is an open area. But at the same time, we still need to protect our customer till it is safely moved away from the bank location. So now, without dwelling too much, these are the main major challenges I have dwelt upon. There are quite a few which are minor challenges, which we are continuously working towards finding, as they say, complete security solutions. You know, your complete security solutions need to address the problem and remove it from the root. Piecemeal solutions really don't work. It has to be a well-oiled machine and should lead towards complete security solutions. Now, again, I would say, because of constraints of time, I would have given more insight into things. I'll close my discussion here. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Shukla, for that insight into the security aspects of ATM and currency chest. In this instance, I would like to narrate a story connected with that. And this is connected with the mobile devices also. One parent, he didn't want to go to the market, but he wanted money. So he calls up his daughter, who is in the market, and he is thinking that he is talking to his daughter. And he said, why don't you withdraw? Do you have your card with you? And she's saying, yes, Papa, I have my card. And she is not realizing that there are people around her. And then he said, okay, you draw 20,000. I don't want to go out now. You bring 20,000 from the withdrawing from that ATM. Do you see an ATM in front of you? She says, yes, I'm seeing right in front of me there is an ATM. And she walks into that ATM. She draws 20,000. And then money is gone. So that is a physical security he's talking about at ATM. If it was physically guarded, at least somebody would have seen that and prevented that issue. And to sum it up, probably an answer would be moving towards cashless, less cash society. And security, logical and physical, are both important to financial sector. Awareness is the key. Awareness to the employees as well as to the customers. Customers also should be very, very alert. Like I narrated that, never use your mobile in the public marketplace and talk about things which you are not supposed to talk about. Keep your mobile talks to a limited extent, what you just need to convey. If she had only said yes, yes, yes and all that, probably this wouldn't have happened. So that is what we are talking. When in awareness classes also, we keep on telling them, be aware what you are doing, because you are the key person. Awareness is the key to physical and logical security. Now I would like the audience to ask any questions if you have directed at the panel members. Okay. Yeah, we can take questions offline since we are running short of time.
We would now end this session, thanking Ashalata ma'am for chairing the session. I would request her to give away the speaker mementos to the rest of the panelists on stage. To Mr. Tapan Kumar Panda. Chief Information Security Officer, Andhra Bank. To Mr. V.D. Kolhatkar, Chief Information Security Officer, Bank of Maharashtra. To Mr. Rohit Shukla, Chief Security Officer, IDBI Bank. To Mr. Ruchin Kumar, Security Analyst, India and SARC SafeNet. To Mr. Manish Paul, Head Information Risk Management, HDFC Bank. To Mr. V.N. Jadhav, DIG Police, Maharashtra State Security Corporation. Has Mr. Saurabh left? Yeah. I would request Mr. Tapan Kumar Panda to give the speaker memento to Ms. Ashalata Govind, GM and Chief Information Security Officer, State Bank of India. We thank you all for the session. We would request for a group photograph.